So this is the lineup for today, and the plan is for us to take stock, ask ourselves what did we do this semester and what can we do in the upcoming semesters. So we have Shen Yong, who's going to take us off with an introduction, and then I will share with you. My name is Sophia, by the way. I will be hosting this today. Welcome for those of you who just came in. So I'm just going over the plan or the agenda for today. So then I will take us through the faculty experience survey that was conducted just prior to this webinar. And then Sally's going to talk about or share with you student voice or her research from the student perspective. Finally, we're going to have Sabrina, who's going to share with us issues on academic integrity. So perhaps Shen Yong can take over now and get started. Shen Yong, over to you.
Thank you, Sophia. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, just check. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so probably what I'm going to share is not going to be as exciting as what you've seen earlier in Andrew's talk, but nonetheless, I will still try. So I have attended a few seminars, a few talks, and some thoughts came to mind. So I thought I'll just share, with our colleagues, and you can explore, some of the other ways that you could use GenAI for teaching and learning, and of course even research. Okay, so this picture I've showed many times. Now this is the picture that gave me the shock a few years ago. Okay, so this is way before GenAI came about. So this is a generative design that was created by Autodesk Fusion 360. Okay, so now if you look at the similarity in all this design, now the user probably told the machine, told the computer software what to do. Now you probably see two holes here and one at the base. And you probably give it strength and amount of material to use, and now it just spit out a whole range of designs. So when I first saw this, I was thinking, wow, okay, now the computer can do such things. So this is like an alarm bell. Okay, but beyond the alarm bell, I think I'm still using the same slide, but I'm just thinking what we can do about this. Now that we know such a technology exists, now how should we design our learning activities or modify our curriculum, knowing that such a thing is around? So a few things to note. I think it's still important that students will still be able to design from scratch. Okay, this is probably one of the important skills that we want our students to have. And they need to know that such software exists. I think sometimes the students are very good at picking up new technologies, okay? But I think they need to know it exists first before you start using it and exploring. So you probably can leave them to do the learning by themselves. And then, of course, at the end of the day, they need to be able to pick the suitable design for whatever function that they need, okay? So I just thought of if I'm an instructor, teaching engineering design, this is how I would plan my learning activity. Of course, there are different ways of doing it. Okay, so first, the students will probably have to use a CAD tool, computer-aided design tool, to just do one design by themselves so that they know all the tools and all the thoughts that has gone into the process of designing a certain part. And then you can use GenAI, okay, or whatever method, okay, to generate multiple designs. And then based on the use case and the context, pick one or two and explain the choice. And finally, okay, so this is inspired in the workshop that we had in July. So faculty from MAE, I think it's John Eng, he was saying that when we get the students to write a declaration, we also want them to reflect on how they can enhance they can build on what AI can do. Right, so having done this picking, we would ask the students to see whether they can even make the design that they've picked even better. So this is how I would incorporate GenAI, if I'm teaching a subject like this. So now I'll leave you to think, if there's if you do the same, for a course that you're teaching. Okay. And very much so I'm using GenAI in all sorts of for brainstorming purposes. Okay, less for writing, but for generating ideas. And of course, just like humans, when you brainstorm, there are good ideas and there are bad ideas. So I teach the making and tinkering course. And it's been ongoing for nearly 10 years, and we're running out of ideas. But ChatGPT is actually a great resource, okay, for coming up with ideas, and some of these ideas are actually quite good. Okay, so here are just 10 ideas telling GPT what we have in our workshop. Okay, and giving it some guidelines, not too dangerous or illegal, and it came out with 10 ideas. And some of these we have actually done in the past. And I can even be more specific. I want projects involving modifying a 3D printer. Okay, such as replacing the extruder head with something that's functional. Again, it gave a very good suggestions, and a few of these we actually have done in the past. Okay, but the thing that I like is this PCB plotter. Now I can get a very cheap PCB machine, right? And I just replace the head with something that could ink maybe a conductive can use conductive ink, okay, to draw a circuit. Okay, so I think this is great. And of course, likewise for shape. Okay, so here is something on government policies, and here is writing a novel. So if you want to read to the end of this, you can scan the QR code, or you can copy this chat link here, and you'll see my whole chat history. So earlier this month, I attended a conference, a design education summit, and there was also a talk given by one of the designers on ChatGPT. So as you might have seen, actually, ChatGPT is a very good tool to use for brainstorming and ideation. And the conclusion at the end of that session using ChatGPT is that in the past, some of these ideas, it would take a room full of experts 1 or 2 weeks, okay, to come out. Okay, and now you can just achieve it with half an hour of clever prompting. Okay, so that is something that we all felt, actually. So now there is a great acceleration, of ability to exhaust possibilities that we can consider. And you may also try this out for your courses, and maybe there are blind spots, and GPT will bring you to different places where you have not been before. And I tried. Okay, GPT-4 with DALL-E 3. I just gave a simple prompt. Okay, just to illustrate this, going places using the old way and the new way, and just gave it with just one prompt, and I was quite happy with what it's generated. Okay, so I think the ADM folks will probably have seen this many times. So this is an award-winning prize, and it's not drawn, but it's prompted. Okay, with 80 hours of prompting and 900 iterations. Okay, so maybe prompting. Okay, so Andrew was thinking that maybe prompt engineering may not be relevant in a few years' time, but maybe to prompt something as sophisticated as this, we will probably still need some skills in doing it. Okay, I also had a chat with folks. They were doing translation. They were a little nervous about GPT and its power to do translation. So I typed a Chinese poem. Okay, this is probably one of the most basic one that's known by people. So I gave it a very simple prompt, just translate this to English, and it did. Okay, and even recognize. Okay, so GPT was able to read it and recognize who's the author, right, of this poem. Okay, and it gave a translation of the poem. So, but it doesn't really rhyme too well. So I asked it to make it rhyme better. And it did. Okay, but the rhyme is not so strong. So I asked it to make it stronger. Okay, and you see that it's using different words. Okay, and it's actually quite good. Okay, but the number of syllables in each sentence, I mean, in Chinese, every character, it's one syllable, right? But if it's English, no, you have different number of syllables. So here I'm making it rhyme, have equal number of syllables in each line, and it did. And if you just look at one poem, here I've got 4 or 5 different translations easily. Okay, so I think human will still have a part to play because we need to pick the one that is good. But of course, we need to know the basics, okay, before we can pick the good one. So we have mentioned in some of our earlier talks, okay, it's important that students will still have a very good solid foundation, and before they are given this tool to use, and they need to know what are the things to look out for in order to make good judgments and good choices. Okay, so there are AI tools in material science. So this is interesting because there's so many materials. There's no that exist. You can't characterize all of them. But there are AI tools that can actually make predictions of their properties. Okay, so this is in material science. In civil engineering, you can actually design structures using data. And of course, you can get lesson plans. So now in our earlier talk, I was talking about 2 A's, automation and augmentation. But I think as faculty, I think we also need to create greater awareness among our students on the type of tools that are available that they could use. And of course, there's also awareness of the copyright and the ethical part of using GenAI. And there's one more I, and I looking at how much ideas that GPT can run through. Just now I was saying that it will take a room full of experts 1 to 2 weeks to come up with some of these ideas, and you just take half an hour prompting. So there is going to be a great acceleration, in terms of productivity. Okay, so this is something that we will probably have to think about, in the near future. Okay. So I hope I have get you a little excited about how you can use GenAI to enhance your teaching and learning. But we will not do the Padlet. You can keep this at the back of your head and think about it. And Sophia is going to ask the same question later, and we'll put it on the Padlet, and we can have some good interactions and exchange ideas. Okay. So this table I've showed, this chart I've shown, sometime in July. So there are predictions of how the various sectors are going to be affected. So I'm just refreshing your memory. Some of you might still remember this. So there are certain sectors that are going to be affected. Okay, so here banking. Okay, there is high potential for automation with GenAI and high potential for augmentation. Okay, but there are language tasks that will not be easily replaced. Okay, but here it's quite small, okay, for certain sectors. So you may want to, if you are in teaching some of these courses or you're in these disciplines, you may want to keep a close tab on the developments of what the industries are doing. Okay, so here are the other job types that are going to be affected. Okay, so we expect higher productivity. Okay, and we are, folks in the future will have to manage more types of work, maybe shorter deadlines and higher quality of work expected. Okay. So here, with technology, usually you will have more possibilities, right? So the dots represent the various job types. So some, okay, because of technology, there will be more possibilities. So here, if you look above this axis, 0 to 50%, this is positive. So there'll be new jobs to be created. Okay, we probably would belong to the region whereby you have orange dots, where there is high computer use. Okay, but there will also be jobs that will be replaced. Okay, so this is a negative change in employment percentage. So I think it's very important for us to place our students, in the right side of the curve. Okay, so that they'll not be adversely affected, by the emergence of AI. Okay, very quickly, part 2, we had this discussion. It seems to be extremely quiet. Well, I'm not sure how things are going on at the ground. So maybe later, feel free to contribute to the chat, and we'd like to hear from you. Okay. So if you just throw a typical question into GPT, this is an exam question, it will give a decent answer. That is like in the B grade range. Okay, so you have this as open assessment, open book test. You will probably want to not allow the use of computers, or if this is a take-home assignment, you will have to seriously make modifications. Okay, so there are opportunities and challenges. So it's important that we and our students know the possibilities, the limitations, and the risks. Okay, so this is a quick recap. So we sent out a message in March, okay, to state NTU's position. So this is just to refresh your memory. Okay, we want to equip our students with knowledge and skills to use GenAI productively.
Can you show me how to? Can you show me?
Yeah, in an ethical and critical manner. Okay, and we are concerned about the erosion of critical cognitive skills. So we need to be watchful, okay, of how we introduce these tools for our courses. Students are expected to continue to practice high standards of academic and professional honesty and integrity. Okay, and so the question that I pose for faculty is, if your student now get an A-, are you willing to hire them for the job that's related to the core subject matter? Okay, so is your A- the same as before there was GenAI? If not, you may want to do one of these modifications. Okay, modify the assignment, modify the rubrics, include an oral component, or even reweight your distribution of the components for the course, assessment components for the course. Okay, so I had a chat with Mark and Situ Wei Ping from Kohas, and some insight surface. I'm not sure whether Mark is here, so maybe later we can get Mark to do some sharing as well. Okay, so he earlier, I mean, we did demonstrate that actually ChatGPT is not too good with mathematics. Okay, and it can make mistakes and it's not consistent in the answers. But Mark made an observation, because he's a Hall Fellow. He noticed that some of the STEM students, okay, they're using the ChatGPT to do the thinking for them, and after GPT does the thinking, and actually, interestingly, most of the time it's actually correct. For science and engineering problem, thinking is correct, but the calculation is wrong. Okay, so now there is an augmentation. It becomes a human augmenting to the AI. Okay, not the other way around, unfortunately. The human take over the calculations, okay, from the thinking done by the AI. Okay, so I think if we are, okay, I teach physics, so we cannot presume that the students are not using AI in the wrong way because they want to get a fast and efficient answer. They may not get the final numeric answer correctly, but they might have actually used AI to substitute the thinking process. Okay, so this is something that I think we should explore a little further. But I think Sally has some interesting videos to share later about how students use AI. Okay, and students are smarter than we think. Okay, especially those who want to use AI and go undetected. Okay, they will not just copy and paste. Okay, they will use multiple GenAI tools. Okay, maybe except a few very lazy or desperate for time students, they will just throw it in directly. Okay, but most students would use it in a cleverly prompted manner and probably using multiple GenAI tools. Wei Ping also made this interesting observation that she heard from the faculty. When the students, the academically weaker students and the very good students, they use GenAI in very differently. Okay, and it's easy to spot, okay, the very good and the weak student. It's those that are in the middle that it's harder to spot whether they've used AI for their work. But I think this is something that is worth a research on, how different students use GenAI for their schoolwork. Okay, so timeline, a lot of happenings in August this year. We sent out an email actually to the associate chairs, associate deans of schools and colleges, and this message is supposed to trickle down. Okay, so we gave actually some guidelines and principles on how we should manage take-home assignments. So there will be okay. We decided to have a generic statement in the OBTL, so you do not need to make multiple modifications in your OBTL. Okay, so what you need to change is just a cover page, of your assignment, and you just need to actually notify the students. Okay, very importantly, notify the students what are some of the do's and don'ts, okay, with regards to the respective assignments. Okay, so this was actually sent out in mid-August before the start of the semester. Okay, there has also been a lot of interesting and exciting developments with regards to GenAI in education in NTU. Okay, so Atlas, headed by Fan Xiong, okay, they are working with the admin to come up with an AI use governance policy paper. Okay, I've also been working with the University Academic Integrity Officer and the School Academic Integrity Officer to come up with various measures to safeguard academic integrity. Okay, there has been workshops and CITS. They're also using new tools to develop content in a much more efficient manner. Okay, using software such as Descript. Okay, you might have seen some of their presentation. And Sally, who looks after social media, is also actually posting a lot of our faculty's use of AI in their teaching in their courses. Okay. And we also move in a very big way for the ICC courses. Okay, 3 ICC courses this semester actually had GenAI infused in them. Okay, so our students will be well informed with regards to GenAI, and you'll probably use it for their courses. So someone was asking in the chat whether we are getting the enterprise version. Okay, it's actually we have some things for students to use, but it's actually very expensive. Like it's like going to be, if you use GPT-4, it's like something like 9 cents per prompt. So it's actually economically not scalable actually. So I would urge if you're a staff, I think spending 20 USD to get GPT-4, it's actually a very good and worthwhile investment. I can check again whether we can scale, but the advice would be maybe you use Bing AI. The back end is GPT-4. Okay, so if you can't use ChatGPT, you want to pay the 20 USD, maybe you can just use Bing AI. Okay, I think after Andrew's talk today, I will have a much longer list of examples next time we meet again in 1 semester's time. Okay, there are also a group of faculty developing AI learning assistants, okay, to personalize learning. But I think having heard what Andrew said, this is going to be quite intuitive, and it may be done maybe by more people. Okay, so you may want to explore doing this, and if you are doing it, just drop me an email. We'll just add you to the whole depository of faculty who are working on this. We can set up a community and exchange tips and ideas. Okay, we're also using it in learning analytics to track students' learning. Okay, and detecting students who are at risk Okay, we're trying to think of a politically more correct term. We want to intervene to help them to be successful in their studies. And this is work in progress, and this is on course advisory. Again, the back end will be AI. Okay, so faculty have used existing public tools, or they're also building their own applications on top of GenAI tools. Okay, so here is a list, definitely not exhaustive. From last time I compiled this, there are many more. And we even have a faculty's work who's actually made it to the finals of the QS competition. Okay, so we'll say more about that maybe in a few months' time. Yeah, so this list will grow longer and faster, I think. Okay, so that's all. Okay, sorry, I've exceeded my
Thank you,
time.
Shen Yong.
Yeah, I'm going to pass over back to Sophia.
Okay. So for my part, give me a second. All right, so are you seeing my slides?
Yes.
All right. So for my part, I'm just going to give you a quick summary of the survey that we did about 3 to 4 weeks ago. When we were planning for this series of webinars, we decided that we needed to hear about what faculty are doing, right? So we could share with you. And this is just a very quick summary. If you like the results of the responses, I'm happy to share after this. So for use cases, so we asked faculty, how did you use AI tools, or what changes did you make to your courses? These were the different types of things that they did. So they use AI for increasing productivity. So for instance, polishing up language, all right? So the students are using it to polish up for productivity purposes. The students may use it to summarize different readings, for instance, okay? Production, so they may use like Midjourney, DALL-E to produce images and so on. Generate content refers to faculty who have used AI to perhaps create case studies or certain content for their class. We have also seen examples of uses of AI as tutors to give student feedback, or students asking, using AI to clarify their doubts and so on. Using AI for research. And quite a popular thing that has come up is that some faculty have asked their students to create outputs or generate outputs with ChatGPT, for instance, and then critique the outputs and have a discussion. And the discussions could also revolve around issues of ethics and value. Faculty perception of effectiveness. So then we asked these faculty, in fact, of the 59 people who responded, about 36 indicated that they did make some changes to their courses. And here's their perception of the effectiveness of these changes. So they noticed that there's improved quality of assignments. Some of them noticed improved quality of assignments, whereas some of them did not. Okay, so that's kind of mixed. This slide shows you all the positive things. So improved quality of assignments, students realize potentials and limitations. So for faculty who have used GenAI in class, they realize that students seem excited about its potentials for efficiency. But they also see, which is quite positive, is that students start to realize that without certain knowledge in the subjects, they're actually unable to fully utilize GenAI to its fullest, right? So that was a good takeaway for the students. Students were able to critique AI, GAI outputs effectively. So for those people who used it to kind of develop students' critical thinking, that was pretty positive. And then the next three have to do with changes in take-home assignments and assessments. These were positive as well. So some people have made changes in the rubrics to shift the weight to more on development. And they found that this shift made the assessment actually more valid in assessing student ability. So, and then the last one, changes to assessment process, increased feedback to students. So there was someone who said that, they had actually redesign all their assessments such that instead of one broad assessment, they had cut it up into mini assessments and given feedback along the way so that he or she could keep track of the potential plagiarism, and notice that there was a reduction in plagiarism. Now, more negative side of things, there were some faculty who found it surprising that there was a significant number of students that are still not using AI to improve their quality. And that is because they thought that the quality was poor. They were like, come on, surely, if you had run this through ChatGPT, it would have been much better than this. So they were surprised. And also, there were people who said that, even though they told students it was okay, it was all right to use GenAI tools or ChatGPT, just declare it. Students do not always declare. So we're not sure why. Perhaps Sally can bridge that gap later on if you stay tuned. She can share student voices. But this is from faculty side, right? Limited success in getting students to augment their learning by harnessing GenAI. So some faculty have thought that there was some limited success, perhaps because students weren't ready, or perhaps because they required more subject area knowledge than they thought they would. We also asked faculty about challenges that they faced. So challenges included things like, students' lack of understanding on the affordances and limitations. There was scant literature. There was not enough resources. Some students were reluctant to use it. So particularly, I think, was it an engineering class in writing or something like that, where students just refused to use it because they were afraid that they would be flagged for plagiarism. Communicating AI policies and the whole process seemed very onerous. Students found it, or perhaps faculty thought it was quite difficult to make it clear to students what is expected. There was a steep learning curve, right, for everyone, me included. There's so much out there. It's rapidly evolving, and we really need to stay vigilant. So time needs to be spent on these things. Critiquing AI output may not be relevant in the long run. So for those of you who have done some of these, let's take a look at the output, let's critique it. There is this concern that it may not be relevant in the long run because AI will just get better. Other challenges. So it seems like there's no guarantee that students will honestly provide the prompts, even though they were told to do so. Some students appear to be confused over the policy. There's a question of how much use, how much AI use, what constitutes AI use. Weaving in of AI tools seamlessly without disrupting the flow of the lesson. How do I do that? How do I weave in AI tools? How do I use it without actually disrupting what I'm doing, right? Some of us express the lack of knowledge, feeling like we don't have the expertise in doing this. We talked about the time required. There's a lot of time required, lack of funding, perhaps, to support some of the initiatives that you're interested in, like simulations or buying of AI tools, to keep up with students who are purchasing and using these new AI tools. The admin process, some have mentioned that it was also very onerous, having to change the assessment and having to submit it for approval and so on. But overall, there seems to be a shift from increased. So since the last time we did this, right, this survey, in July, August, we also had a sort of a pre-workshop survey to ask about usage. At that time, it was about a third of the people who filled out the survey who said that, yep, I have actually heard, I've actually started to use generative AI tools. Now the reverse is true. So in this survey, it seems like about 2/3 of you, and 2/3 of you are actually using it actively in class, or perhaps making changes to your course in response to these. There is, I noticed there's a reduction of lower level tasks in favor of higher level tasks in your redesign. Okay, focus on, so the redesign somehow focused more on contextualized, personalized, authentic tasks. And there is also a shift from written to oral assessments. Now, in helping us to think about how we may use generative AI or any sorts of technology for teaching and learning, perhaps we could look at it from the perspective of these two buckets. Okay, they are kind of overlapping buckets actually. But if you think about the things that, you know, faculty have been doing like this, that I just went over, right? It kind of falls into one of these two things. We're actually either doing things better, so we are kind of mirroring what we have been doing, supplementing some things that we've been doing. So we're building on our existing practice, improving accessibility, convenience, efficiency. So we're doing things better. So we can think, how can we use technology to do things better? We could also think, how can we use technology to do better things? So what is it that generative AI is now affording us in learning that we couldn't do before? So developing qualitative changes in student learning that was not previously, or redesigning your learning outcomes or your learning activities that were not previously possible. Okay. So with that in mind, perhaps, and also in view of the time, perhaps I could invite you to respond to what you have heard so far, perhaps to talk about what ideas you might try in the coming semester, either, or if you feel like, you know, that's not something, you don't need to respond to any changes, you know, feel free to share that as well. How might you incorporate or respond to this in the next semester? So this is a Padlet. If you could, I think Tashini has provided the link in the chat window. So if you could just click on that, and I will navigate to that in a second. Am I good on time? Okay. Okay, I have used makeup. All right, so let me move to the Padlet now. I'd like to invite you to perhaps just share that. So here is the first question for you, right? How might we use GenAI to enhance our teaching and learning? What ideas have you gained so far, or maybe heard from even yesterday's webinar from our own faculty who have been doing it, or perhaps from Andrew Prall's webinar earlier on prompt engineering. What thoughts do you have in terms of how you might adapt or adopt for the upcoming semesters? So you may click on, are you able to see my screen, the Padlet?
Yeah.
Okay, so you may click on this, the plus here, if you're unfamiliar with Padlet, and simply write something in there. So I am awaiting your response. And perhaps if you'd like to just take the mic and ask questions at this point, we welcome that as well. I'm hoping the silence here is a good sign that you're busy typing away. Did you echo with what was presented in terms of faculty experiences? Did anything surprise you? Okay, great. So now we have our first responses coming in. Prompt ChatGPT to convey complex technical terms in a relatable manner. Yes, okay. Here are more ideas. Using ChatGPT for an undergraduate ICC course. There's great potential in using this. And one idea is to develop assessments where the student is asked to collaborate with ChatGPT to complete a task and then reflect on their experiences. That is a nice example of using ChatGPT to augment their learning. Oral presentations will become bigger percent. Use it for generating ideas, asking students to evaluate what has been produced. So I'm seeing that some of these things fall into the bucket of doing better things, right? I will use AI as a teaching assistant to automate various processes. Live demos in class, like what Andrew Prowl is doing, might help resistant students get comfortable with it. Okay, customize ChatGPT to my course chatbot. Okay, thank you for your responses. Any burning questions? I would like to invite you to perhaps put them into the chat, because we do have a lot to share with you today. So I would like to perhaps call on Sally now and let her take over. Thank you all for sharing your ideas here, and keep them coming in. Perhaps we can read them and comment on them later on.
Hi, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, let me just make it full screen now. Give me a while. Okay. Am I loud enough?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sally from Inspire. And often as educators, what we teach, rather than who we teach, determine how we teach. So in this segment, I bring the focus back to who we teach, our students. When designing learning experience, I believe it's important for us educators to seek to understand first so that we can be better understood, especially when leveraging technology to enhance learning. Our students may have very different views from us, and our beliefs of what they know or don't know may be way off. So before you pour your efforts to redesigning your next semester's lesson, to incorporate AI into your lessons, lend me your ears as I share the findings from Inspire's sensing surveys and FGDs with students, so that you have a glimpse of their current practices, hopes, and fears of GenAI. Since ChatGPT released in November 2022, GenAI is suddenly thrust into our faces as the next big thing that will transform the way we live, learn, and work. So Inspire realizes the importance to keep a finger on the pulse of how exactly it is transforming learning in NTU. So we've been conducting all this sensing work, and we'll continue to do so to track the patterns of change in NTU as GenAI makes its way into teaching and learning processes. If you have attended our earlier sessions this year, you may have heard my sharing of the findings from our earlier online survey conducted in May 2023 with 1,600 students and 110 faculty. The one that Sophia presented was on faculty survey. I think it's done much later, with a smaller group, but much later. In this segment, I will report mainly from the 2 FGDs that we conducted in September, designed to delve deeper and shed light to the data we found in May. So I'll be sharing the key findings from the thematic analysis of the FGD transcripts, culled from 11 undergrads and postgrads from different schools. As you listen to my sharing, this is the same Padlet that Sophia has shown. You will find that there's a column that says, I used to think, now I know. It's for you to kind of listen out for any student voice that maybe challenge your existing understanding of your students' practice, knowledge, and feelings about GenAI, and the implications that it may have on how you design the learning experience for them the next semester. So that will be the other column. So I intend to, okay? And as I said, we will continue be doing FGDs to students and doing surveys to students. If you have any burning questions that you want us to pose to the students, there's one column for you to put those questions in, and we might just post those questions next time around. So just pen down your takeaways and question in the Padlet anytime during my presentation. There are many interesting narratives that emerge, and we have curated some to show you in this video. I thought hearing the students' voice would be the best, and in this video, we'll be sharing both the in-school and out-of-school practice with GenAI. Just a fun fact about this video, my team and I actually have 0 video editing skills, so this video is created using GenAI called Discrete. I think Tashini will paste the Discrete link there. Discrete transcribe all the videos by speakers helps us as researchers also when we do our qualitative analysis. And it allows me to edit the video by simply editing the transcript. Okay, so here goes. Okay.
I'll provide some context for our focus group discussion by sharing 5 key findings from a GenAI survey conducted by NTU Inspire. 1,632 students volunteered to participate in this survey in May 2023. There was a fairly even distribution of first, second, third, and fourth year students, as well as postgraduate students. When you asked if they had used any form of GenAI, like ChatGPT, about 3 in 4 students said they had used GenAI, while the rest said they had not tried GenAI yet or were not intending to. The same group conducted a similar survey of the teaching faculty, and there were 110 respondents. Now, when asked if they had used GenAI to support teaching and learning, almost 71% said they had not, while just over a quarter said they had tried. The survey provides a snapshot that could indicate that the practices of the students and the staff are almost mirror opposite. When NTU students were asked what they thought about the statement, GenAI would transform their future work or employment, about 9 out of 10 said they agreed or strongly agreed with this statement. A similar proportion of faculty felt the same way when asked about the impact of GenAI on the jobs they were preparing their students for. Their sentiments might be even stronger given how about 45% of them said they strongly agreed with the statement. Almost 9 in 10 students agreed that GenAI should be incorporated into teaching and learning activities here in NTU, while about 8 in 10 faculty agreed. Finally, the issue about incorporating GenAI into assessment was a bit more divisive. About 40% of the students said that they strongly disagreed with this statement, while about 1/3 of the faculty felt the same way.
The Gen AI I use is ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. I also use DALL-E and Midjourney. I use not only ChatGPT, also BART.
Recently, I learned BART.
I feel like I'm almost addicted to it. Like sometimes before I open NTU Learn, I'll open my ChatGPT. I use it to facilitate learning in class because the speed at which the output is like excellent. So it's like before your prof can even complete the sentence, sometimes you already get one step ahead. Or like sometimes when I don't understand some terms in class, because the class pace is very fast, right? I use it for a lot of class participation as well. Like my class part points have definitely gone up because I'm able to like make connections way better and in like ways that my natural brain wouldn't be able to make so fast. It gives you insights to something else, a different perspective, even without talking to someone else.
In the previous semester, for example, there's a debate in the class. And so the debate is very short, like we keep it until 15 minutes. And we, as a group, we have to come up with ideas. So when we're panicking and we don't have the kind of idea in mind, and then we just throw the question into ChatGPT, and then it will generate some kind of idea, and then our group will develop it from there.
I sometimes use it to summarize papers or summarize some things I'm trying to read. If it's too long, I know I just need to get the gist of it. I just copy paste it into the prompt and ask it to summarize it for me.
Sometimes I just write a draft. Then I ask the ChatGPT to polish the language. And sometimes I can say something different as what I drafted, but it even becomes better. So I just use it.
Not just ChatGPT, there's like Quillbot and all those other popular AIs. So a lot of times what happens is that I have an idea in my head, but I can't really express it very well. So I write points to ChatGPT and I'm like, make this a cohesive and a coherent paragraph. And then it gives me something. And then I'm like, this isn't very good. Do it again. And then I have multiple options. And then I can write it myself because I have the inspiration or a reference to work from.
I sometimes use Google Slides to do presentation or use Google Doc to do reports for my internship. Somehow I start to see some pop up that say, hey, you want to help to create some things or not from AI. And in your presentation, there's a designer sat at the right side of the screen. They will say like, would you like to create some images out of AI?
In one of the courses, which we were trying to explore this program called DALI. So you could text prompt the software to give you some outputs. Like imagine a city street in Kolkata. It gets some parts right, and some parts, I think where it struggles, it just puts up whatever it can. So it still requires a lot of input from your side.
I've also used it for coding a lot. Again, I'm also a beginner, and so in my field, there's some like statistical analyses tools that we use programming languages for. So there's Python, there's R, etc. I'm sort of teaching myself, and I'm not very confident about it. So whenever I write a code, I just I give it to ChatGPT, and I tell it like, are there any bugs here, or can I make it more efficient?
I think ChatGPT is really useful when I try to write some monotonous code, which I don't want to do that. I know how to do it, but it'll just take me too long to write that code. So I just put a prompt on ChatGPT saying that please write a code to do this, this, this. But when it comes to complex algorithms, it sometimes makes mistakes. So I just give it a prompt. I take the code, I put it back in my code, and I debug it because I know there'll be errors there. So I fix it, and it saves me a lot of time. So that's how I started using ChatGPT when it came out. And slowly it has become a habit now to put the monotonous tasks to ChatGPT and focus on the ones that I have to actively put a thought into.
I don't have as much of a warm reception towards AI actually. A lot of time, many things are factually incorrect, right? Because you are looking for literature that has hardly been covered online. And what ChatGPT does is it takes information from online, it trolls it, and it compiles it very nicely. But when that information is lacking, then you start to have a little bit of problem.
I don't really use it to like change my writing also, because like for me, I'm quite particular about my essays and stuff. I like to write in my own style. And I feel like the way I express myself, right, reflects who I am as a person. So I don't want the ChatGPT to like edit my stuff. I feel like the only problem is that like ChatGPT is not that credible. So if there's any information that it compiles, you still have to like search it up online to like cross-examine it. So it was an open book quiz, so you can refer to anything and everything, right? So of course, me as an addicted ChatGPT user, I was copy-pasting questions, my test questions, into the ChatGPT, the in-class test. I was very happy because I was like, oh, I found a loophole, you know, I'm gonna get an A. I was very wrong because even for very simple questions, like true-false questions, I got it wrong. Thanks to ChatGPT. That day I went home a very sad student because I did really bad for that test. And that taught me a lesson to never use ChatGPT in my test ever again.
Don't challenge it to, do stupid things and then kind of prove the point that, oh, it's giving rubbish answers. You try to use the technology in the proper way and you can get the right answer.
For entertainment, I think all of you will be familiar with the deep fake, right? Especially on things like TikTok, right? I think quite a while back there were deep fake pictures of like Pope in a huge puffer dress. That was very fun to watch. It does provide a lot of new entertainment, which I don't think we have ever seen before.
Oh, I asked for some solution, let's say I want to travel to Italy and then please give me an itinerary for 15 days.
For me, like on the side, I do some content creation. So comparatively to previous time, where you have to kind of really use the analytics tools, spend time like crunching numbers, seeing what your audience likes, seeing what really gets people hooked. You know, you actually have to spend quite a significant amount of time researching that before, and then you still have to plan your content, and then you still have to edit your content and then publish your content. So I think that one video in itself would have taken 2 weeks for me, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, like juggling school as well. But now with ChatGPT mostly that I use, it's really easy to find out what is the current trends and what people like, and just be able to specifically identify where you can step in and how your content can contribute to what people like to see, or even like upcoming trends. So I guess it's really helped me in generating content in terms of editing stuff, in terms of coming up with content, like what to say in the videos. So AI has really helped me in that sense to kind of just shorten the amount of time. Now I can create stuff in like 3 days, 2 days.
I've also used it for cooking, but mostly when like I'm really lazy, where like I have this many ingredients, what can I make which is vegetarian and also time saving, and it gives me a bunch of recipes. Yeah, so that's when like if I were to search that in Google, I would spend time looking at all the websites and the advertisements that block it, but ChatGPT just delivers immediately.
If you don't know how to use ChatGPT to help your cooking, maybe that becomes a disadvantage of a marriage market. I think for myself, right?
Right. So let me just go to the next slide. So in the video, we provide snippets of the narrative under some key themes. You have heard just now Sophia's question, why is it that some of them do not use, other than fear of plagiarism. In fact, very interestingly, it is the very good writers who will not want to use the engines. And we also hear a lot of narratives of their out-of-school use. Actually, a lot of their out-of-school use is what inspired them in the in-school use also. So like one of them shared how he took a picture of his cat's ailment and asked Bart to resolve it. And then that helps him to save time and money from a trip to the vet. And others who share, other than being a better pet owner, how to keep their diet, how to be a better boyfriend, as they use the tool to solve everyday problems. So at this midway point in the presentation, just a reminder to reflect on your thoughts. If there's anything that you have heard that perhaps challenge your previous perception of the students, understanding or feelings about ChatGPT, please pen them down and put your thoughts there, okay? Right, next one. So during the FGDs, the students also share their fears, concern, and recommendation. This video is not quite ready, so I'm going to share the snippets in stills. And it's easy to think that our students are in this fearless stage of their life. They are more gung-ho and less of a worrywart than us. But honestly, they have very similar concerns about generative AI as us. So firstly, they fear that Gen AI, in their words, will turn us into zombies. And they are already noticing certain patterns in terms of the lack of individuality. They also worry over the over-reliance of ChatGPT and other Gen AI, whether you make them less curious and limit us as humankind. They worry about creativity at stake, as I mentioned, and it seems as if those in the humanities fields are the ones quite resistant. At least in the FGD, it's very apparent that those in the humanities field are a little bit more resistant because they're afraid of losing their voice and art form. Yeah. Secondly, they also voice out being FOMO. FOMO stands for fear of missing out. Because everything is moving at such a fast pace, right? So it's not just us, but our students are also panting, knowing that they too have to keep up with what's happening in the Gen AI scene. Many of them are keeping up with the trends and news through the social networks. For example, I'm not too sure if you are aware, over the last weekend, ChatGPT as a company, OpenAI, imploded. On Friday, they fired Sam Altman, and then actually just at 2 o'clock today, just now, I think 3 o'clock, Sam got hired back. Yeah, but in between, Microsoft hired him and so on and so forth. So, but it's a big deal to know where these movers and shakers of the AI scene are doing and going, because they are the ones in charge of the transformation of how we work, learn, and play. So, and imagine while the dust has not even settled, ChatGPT announced today over X, previously called Twitter, that the voice-activated version of ChatGPT is available for all of us to download on our phones. So you can download now. Yeah. So anyway, to keep pace, if for yourself, as Shen Yong has mentioned, over social media, the Inspire team, we have been sharing the GenAI updates of tools that we think are of your interest, news of that will be of your interest. So do follow us. I think Tashini has been putting all the links at the site, so do have a look. Okay, back to the students. Thirdly, a few of them share their fears of future employment. I want to share this particular narrative of this student. She talked very passionately about her dream to be a translator, and now she fears that AI has disrupted the entire translation scene, so much so that it's no longer a viable job option, and her concerns can be very real. I'm not too sure if you have seen this viral video of Taylor Swift.
但这些歌曲没进入专辑，因为想留着他们下一张专辑用。那然后下一张专辑完全不同，所以他们被抛在了后面。But these were songs that didn't make it on the album.
And this particular viral video is created using 11 Labs and 11 Labs, I think, or Hey Gen, I can't remember which one. These two apps are like, you know, really threatening the livelihoods of translators and dubbing artists out there. Because I play with it. It is really easy to use. It's instantaneous. And but having said that, he has not quite reached human level quality machine translation. Because to do so, right, it requires the large language models, a lot of large language models of different languages, okay? And it requires deep knowledge of the content that is translating. On top of that, the social intelligence to decipher the speaker's intent in context, and all these things to work together simultaneously. GenAI has yet cloned all of this thing happening in a human translator mind. However, it does produce a very good, decent first draft for the human to edit. So yes, it's already disrupting the translation scene, and the students' concern is quite valid.
And so
okay, similarly, students from other fields have already you know, also show concern. Students who learn coding, graphic creation see the potential of GenAI doing a large part of their job. And students looking and also in HR, they are aware that, sorry, just give me a moment. Also in HR, they're aware of the operational tasks that will gradually be done by GenAI. So the students are actually looking to us to help them understand, to distill the human value in their fields. Enduring skills, dispositions that can help them to coexist with GenAI when they step into the workforce. If you have not already read the latest Future of Jobs report, I strongly encourage you to have a read. Focus on industry that you're preparing your students for. I think this is an updated version. Shen Yong showed at the table just now, right? This is an updated version. And have a discussion with them. Okay. I think that you know, consider how you can weave all these dispositions and skills into your curriculum, your assessment design. Perhaps it could be just a mere shifting of your curriculum time and focus on what you use to give slightly less emphasis to. For example, spend time to identify, rectify errors, verify, evaluate, add human touches or provide nuances to context that AI can't. While some students are apprehensive, there are others who are excited, like these engineering students who know that humans are still needed to keep AI in check, and to do so, you must have a very deep knowledge of your field. And then this humanities student, he said that he sees as an opportunity in the area of prompt engineering, though I'll probably alert him that the current discussion on prompt engineering is that it's only in the near future. But as Gen AI inch closer to something we call AGI, artificial general intelligence will have that ability to detect intent a lot better. Maybe prompt engineering may not be as relevant, but in the near future, it still is. And this material science student, again, is something that Shen Yong shared. In their field, I think there's a lot of development of Gen AI, charting new pathways within the field. She wished to move towards developing this particular area as early as possible. Others spoke about how Gen AI can digest large volume of data in order to make prediction, to transform the business and accounting world. And similarly, because Gen AI can handle large volumes and complex data, they're looking forward to how NTU can guide them to use Gen AI to make new connections between information of different disciplines to make interdisciplinary breakthroughs. The students also voiced out some AI literacy, which currently they are learning on their own, and perhaps wondering if NTU can consider incorporating it as baseline curriculum in the various schools. For example, current AI modules that are considered as optional and only available maybe at year 3, year 4, even postgrad, could be introduced much earlier. That's one request. And there's still requests for prompt engineering. So Inspire will be organizing a prompt engineering webinar at the start of next year. We have invited Juice White, who has mounted a very popular course on Coursera on this topic. As I mentioned earlier, I know there's talks about prompt engineering eventually become a passé, but till we manage to inch closer to AGI, I think knowing how to write good prompts will help the students to use Gen AI more effectively and more efficiently. So in the short term, I think there's still some value. There are other recommendations of the need for curriculum objectives and structures. Sorry, one more. Sorry, this one, another AI literacy. They talked about how they wish to be explicitly guided on AI laws and ethics, and they do not want to be left to find out on their own. And again, if it could be anchored in the relevance of their field, that would be what they appreciate. Other recommendations on the need to review curriculum objectives and structures. They wonder aloud if the university has spent time to think through how AI can be harnessed to speed up some parts of the curriculum, or even to enable a more flexible curriculum, asking for a critical overhaul, update to the curriculum. They share how they like lecturers who demo use of AI in the classroom. I think this Andrew's student. And they also talked about teaching strategies for consideration, like critiquing of quality AI, the quality of AI generated content, using it to assess how well the students have mastered what they have learned in the classroom. I think that was the point that Sophia made earlier on also. They emphasize the need for lecturers to devote curricular time to develop them as innovators. To get them to confront the realities of what AI can or cannot do, so that they see a value in their learning in your classroom in this Gen AI era. And lastly, They spoke at length of how in Gen AI era, more than ever, to please prioritize and assess their learning process and not just their products. They spoke about the importance of lecturers acknowledging that they will be using Gen AI to augment their learning. And while they say very politely, it was obvious that when they say that their lecturers expect 0 AI plagiarism score from them, there's this sense that they know those lecturers who say that kind of operate on a very different paradigm of what learning is from them, and very disconnected to how they perceive learning should happen in this era. So again, maybe I strongly encourage all of us to rethink how we interpret that score. I've come to the end of the presentation. So again, please take a moment to consider if the sharing has shifted any previously held perception of your student practice, understanding, and feelings about AI, and what it means to you for the next semester. And if you have one burning questions that you want to inspire to pose to the students next semester, the next sensing round, just go ahead and key in. Okay, I'm good with my time,
Sally.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
so with that, I hand the time back over to you.
Thank you, Sally. That was very, very interesting. Thanks for sharing student perspectives. And now we have Sabrina. Sabrina, are you able to share your slides?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay.
So can see the slide, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm Sabrina from School of Social Sciences. So I'm the school academic integrated officer. So what I'm going to talk about is about some of the cases and then that I handle in semester 2 last year. So in April to May, yeah. So at Triple S at the time, because there were, I think I handled over 200 suspected cases of student use of ChatGPT, and because so that's why I think I was heavily burdened by handling these cases, especially they were in the period of exam and essay grading period. Yeah. So because we also were asked to interview students, okay, and then record the interview section. So that's why the process could be quite long. Yeah. And of course, according so based on the policy, so how to deal with ChatGPT and AI tools in coursework is that we have to make sure that cases that fulfill the following conditions. So the first thing is that the use of ChatGPT and other generative AI tools had not been authorized by the instructor, and such use by the student has not been acknowledged with the submission, and then the 20-in check suggests substantial use of ChatGPT or other GAI has been made then. So then what we recommend to course instructor was that they need to conduct an in-person interview or Zoom interview with the student. So this is about how to kickstart the preliminary inquiry to see whether there really has been an alpha use of GAI that can potentially amount to plagiarism. And of course, before the interview began, the faculty must find some evidence, right, to prove that, okay, that this is really a suspected case. And then, and of course, during the interview, we try to give students a chance, okay, to explain, okay, how, whether they have really used, okay, ChatGPT or other AI tools, and which part of the segments of their work assignment has been generated by ChatGPT and other AI tools. And of course, we also recommend course instructor to conduct the interview with other faculty member and then to ensure that there is the fairness, and then with the presence of SAIO. Yeah, so that's why because this was something very new, okay, to most of the faculty, so they a bit scared of how to ask questions, right? Just in case some student may refuse, right, to admit that they use ChatGPT. So that's why I was also I was present in the interview process. And so where students still remain denial of GAI use, but it's reasonably certain that plagiarism have occurred due to the use of ChatGPT, and then so of course the instructor could proceed to bring the matter to the school academic integrity committee, which would actually consist of chair of the school or other high authority. So in this committee, but I think so far up till now we haven't escalate the cases to SAIC stage. So we were managed to finish all the investigation at preliminary inquiry level, and of course if an alpha or a knowledge use is admitted by the student, then the faculty should get the admission recorded and signed and can deal with it under the current academic degree sanction benchmark. So this benchmark actually would provide some direction, to faculty. So if there is, depending on the AI score, would give you some idea whether this is minor plagiarism or major plagiarism, right? Something like so. So then the penalty would be quite different. So of course, the least less severe case may only lead to reduction of marks in proportion to the segment, right, that of text generated by ChatGPT. But if that fall into the case of major plagiarism, it would lead to 0 marks for that assignment or even more heavier penalty, right? And of course, right now what Turnitin provide us, right, that function to help faculty to identify student use of ChatGPT. So of course similarity index is something that not related to, right, use of ChatGPT, right? But then starting from this year, right, in April, there was the introduction of AI generated content detector. So the AI score will give you idea about whether this work, most of the work, the segment of the text are generated by ChatGPT or not. And then of course, in October, then there were also the copy leaks instructor only tool, which can be accessed through the build content menu in the course content area. Yeah, so for AI score, of course, faculty ask also the score, how high should be kickstart the investigation, because there is chances that AI score may be false positive, right? So so that's why I think at that time our suggestion is score that go beyond 20. So you may have to be alert, right, whether this is the case that require a human investigation. So at that time, I think at Triple S, I think we found outliers of cases with AI score ranging from 40 to 100%. So that the range is quite huge. And then of course copy leak at that time, in April at that time, so copy leak has yet to be one of the function in the Turnitin. So actually we need to rely on CITS help to help us generate a report from copy leak. So of course then the process could be quite time consuming, but of course starting from October, instructor can use copy leaks the function, so it's easier, streamline everything. But of course I think some of the challenges encountered by faculty at the time is that, of course, for class size that is rather small, for example, like less than 30, it's easier for them to handle some of the suspected cases with high AI score. But we also encounter, as SAI, we also encounter cases where they have a large class size, over 100 students, when there were over 60 cases, suspected cases. And it would be very tedious to ask faculty to interview all the 60 students. So that's why at that time we also have to take into account that was the exam period, and then there was the mark grading period. So it was quite stressful circumstances. So what I suggested to faculty that had over 60 cases, right, of suspect cases, so I would suggest them to select the most severe cases. For example, those that have AI score over 80 and above, right? So you need, but the reason why is that because considering that the module will be offered in the next semester or next academic year, so if you do not establish some cases, right, and then if no penalty was given to student, then next year I was expected that the cases may increase and a student may try their luck, right? If the course instructor does not allow, right, student to use any ChatGPT. So that's why this is how at that time we handle the cases and the suggestion that I give to faculty. And of course, some students, and most of the cases that we handle, I mean, we have interview, I think we have less than 10 interview, but actually there were lots of cases. So the 10 most, less than 10, but interview, but they were the most severe cases. So I think the student, the answer given by student, why they would use ChatGPT, and of course none of them said that because they believe that ChatGPT would enhance their learning, but instead I think most of the answer that we got from them was they had difficulty in meeting lots of essay deadline, right? So that's why in order to clear deadline, ChatGPT was the fastest way, right, to handle the assignment. But of course, while turning in through the AI score or copy leak, the report provide us some clue. At that time, the difficulty most of the faculty found is that there is the huge variation, between the score, the score of AI, generated from Turnitin and then copy leak report. Because, for example, AI score from Turnitin can hit maybe 60%, right? But then copy leak, the index may show that this is a 10% or 12%. So that's why faculty would have reservation whether this is really a case of just like student using ChatGPT. So that's why human investigation also play a role. It means that as a course instructor, you also need to pay attention to the text and try to find some evidence. So what I did at that time, because I was also there were also suspected cases in my module, my module that I taught. So that's why here are two examples that I want to share with you. So here you can see that this is essay, a long essay. It's a 3,000 word essay, and then it with an AI score of 43%. So actually it will fall into the case of major plagiarism. And then I think what I find it suspicious at that time is that so most of the text, right, did not contain any citation. So the student did not have proper citation. This is the first thing. And the second thing was that the student claimed that, he adopted a theory, a framework from a study, But then when I really download, the original study, I actually found out that that framework did not exist in the original study. So it means that this is something that is really something fake. Generated by ChatGPT, but then the student will not manage to tell whether this framework really come from the original site, because he did not read the literature himself. So that's why when I try to during the interview, I try to ask them, are you sure that you really read these journal article? He said yes for 3 times, right? And then are you sure that this is the framework that the key elements of the framework that developed by these author? He said yes, right? But then when I showed him the original study, then of course he immediately admit that he actually used ChatGPT and then something like that. So I think this is one thing, that shows that ChatGPT did not, generate genuine knowledge. And of course, another example is that this is a group project, okay, and then with AI score of 83%. It's very high, okay, it's very, very high again. So what I found is that from introduction to conclusion, everything is highlighted by the engine, by the system to show that this is all the text generated by ChatGPT. Of course, as a human, I also check, I go through it, whether this really, okay, the evidence of, okay, using ChatGPT. So everything is very vague. Because this is a study that on assessing the healthcare system in Brazil. So that's why I taught that module. I asked students, you were required to use statistics, right, to prove that, for example, in terms of the number of hospital and the manpower, right, and you need the health status of the population, right, but everything was so vague. In that report, so I already have some I have some just a doubt about how they wrote, okay, this, okay, project during the process. But I think when I also checked the reference, okay, reference it was not highlighted by the engine, okay, that this is fake. But when I go through the reference list, I found actually there was one journal, the title of the journal article that I have doubt about it, because the report, the students were asked to write a report on healthcare system in Brazil, but it's nothing related to caregiving. But somehow the student provide a journal article title that related to caregiving. So that's why I guess I suspect about the journal, whether it's real or not. So that's why I actually have access to the online journal publisher, right, and then find that actually the reference was fake. Yeah, so that's why also in the interview I asked them, so are you sure that you really read the work? Right? Of course they say yes, right? But then, of course I also show them the screen later that actually this does not exist. You talk about this, the same journal, the same volume, but then the page number was different, and then the journal article title was also quite different, right, from what they put down. So I think this is why I think what I try to say is that students, if they do not have the fundamental knowledge, right, in this subject, so of course they were not able to judge, right, whether the quality, right, or the text generated by ChatGPT is good or not. So that's why I think what I suggest, because at Triple S, I know we emphasize to capacity building. Is about the capacity to have the critical thinking and problem solving skill, because most of the students will end up working in the ministry, so public sector, right? So that's why we really want students to think, okay, carefully, right? and then try not to rely on just like ChatGPT. But I do understand some faculty, they, even though now for some of my module, I do experiment. I ask students to sign a declaration form, okay, on the use of ChatGPT and other AI tools. But also this does not really guarantee, okay, whether student would not use ChatGPT at all. Because I also find out cases where students sign that declaration form, okay, of the use of ChatGPT, but then the work he submitted also had high AI score of 69%, right? So he claimed that he did not use ChatGPT, but it also show you that the engine will tell you that, oh, he actually used it. So when you ask him about why you want to use ChatGPT, of course he said, oh, I got COVID. So I say, then you got COVID, then how is it related to your use of ChatGPT? Then I think what he tried to say that because he was sick, right? But I think I told him that 3 months ago, you already know about you're going to submit this assignment. So you get 3 months, then why not, okay, seriously work on this long essay? Then of course, then he said that, oh, I'm lazy and then I don't have time to read references, right? So that's why I think now the question is, of course, we don't exclude the possibility that ChatGPT can enhance, right, student learning or writing ability. But I think the thing is that there's always the gray area, because I think sometimes faculty may just casually say that I encourage you to use ChatGPT, right? Some students say that prof said that they encourage us to use ChatGPT, but how to use it, right? So that's why I think this is something that as a faculty, you also have to be very careful when you say that I encourage you to use ChatGPT and in what purpose, right? I think it's very important. And of course, some faculty in our school, they would demonstrate the use of ChatGPT. For example, they will say something that, oh, so now I generate, okay, this is an essay question, and I flow the essay question to ChatGPT, and then they will generate, right, an essay. And of course, they will ask a student, okay, then if you are the marker, so how are you going to grade the quality of work, okay, that generated by ChatGPT? So I think this is how they learn. Maybe this is how to make use of ChatGPT to help them learn. Is as a faculty, then you show them how to use it, and as a human being, you judge, okay, how you are able to judge whether the quality of work generated by ChatGPT is good or not. Yeah, so that's why I think that don't give students some misconception that, okay, if it's right to use ChatGPT, then in what way? So I think there's also the communication part that has to be very clear. If faculty really allow, okay, students to use it, but I mean, for some faculty, they're really strict, okay, about the use of ChatGPT. So what they did is that if they give a list of assigned essay question to students, so they will make the announcement in advance, and then that, oh, I have already thrown all the 10 assigned essay question to ChatGPT and already get the prompt, get the answer from ChatGPT. So whoever, okay, try to use ChatGPT and then generate the answer, okay, I find similar text, right, from you that I would immediately give you 0 marks. So I think it's something like scaring student, okay, try not to use ChatGPT to prompt the work or write the essay. So this is another way that some of the faculty at SSS, they have been using it. But of course, there are also other faculty, they say that, oh, once you sign the declaration form, and I'm not going to interview you. So as long as I find it, the AI score hit a certain, okay, level, maybe over 20, that no matter what, I won't interview, that I will immediately give you 0 marks. So also there's something that some faculty, that what they have been doing. Yeah, but of course, I hope that there can be a balance, can be stricken, okay, between learning, right, and then the use of ChatGPT. So this is the most ideal way. But of course, we are still exploring. Yeah, so I think this is all I want to share with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sabrina.
Yeah.
And we have come to the end of our webinar today. I would like, I mean, I'm hoping that if you have any burning questions, we could take them after this. But I'd like to just thank you all for coming today. For now, it's a very busy period for all of us, so we really appreciate that you have come and contributed and listened, and we welcome your feedback. Let me see, I have a feedback slide somewhere. Yes, we welcome your feedback. Do share with us, continue to share with us your perspectives. Okay. And for those of you who have a little bit more time and would like to kind of hang back and ask questions, I think that we're all available for the next 5 minutes or so. Am I right, Shen Yong? Okay. So thank you all. And we hope to see you tomorrow at our webinar for faculty sharing from the STEM.